Welcome back to my channel, everybody. This story is called New Shoes and an Apricot Colored Silk Tie. It was the project I was working on when my laptop decided it didn't want to work anymore. So I had to recreate it, and technically this is the second complete version. So I hope you enjoy. I rode into the parking lot with 10 minutes to spare. 10 minutes was too early. I didn't want to be too early because that might make me look anxious or needy. I didn't want to be on time because then I might look like a control freak. As bad as those two options were, arriving late would be worse. Bobby could assume I didn't think him important. The best course would be to arrive 5 minutes early. A casual earliness, but it would not be awkward. It would show that I thought our date was special enough to arrive a little early. 5 minutes until our first date. I'd known Bobby for a year. We'd met playing Wastelands, an apocalyptic online shooter game. He was good, better than me. That first night we had played, he had trouble with his new headset. The microphone didn't work with his system. I instant messaged him my phone number, and we've been calling each other ever since. I learned that he lived in southern Nevada, just like me. I lived in Vegas. He lived an hour north in a small town called Dead Man's Butte. We just call it the Butte around here. I knew very little about Bobby. He'd been in the Army, joined right out of high school, served 3 years, and got out. Honorable discharge, he said. I thought terms were 4 years, I said. A lot are, Bobby said. Not mine. Bobby kept to himself, a very private person. The few times I had seen him on the computer, he looked my age. He didn't like to play with his camera on, said it slowed his system down. We had developed this ritual over the months. We played it almost every time we called each other. Hey, I said. Hey yourself, Bobby said. You ready to go out with me yet? Nah, Bobby said. No can do. I've got to stay home and feed the goldfish. Or, it's my turn to hold the umbrella so the meteors don't hit us. Or, maybe later, after I polish the toilet seat. He had one hilarious excuse after another. Except 2 days ago. I said, can I take your cute little butt out to eat? Someplace nice but not too expensive? Romantic, candlelight, just the two of us, alone, where you can have your way with innocent little me? We both laughed. I expected something like, I'm being kidnapped by aliens this weekend. Sorry. Instead, the feed became quiet, as if Bobby covered his microphone. Then he came back on and said, you'll need to come up here. I know this place that makes gourmet burgers. Green Goose gourmet burgers and fries. Finally, I said. I'll find it. Bring a white rose so I can find you. You too, Bobby said. The parking lot to the Green Goose was half full. My bike was ready for anything. I had washed it, polished it, all the chrome shined. We could take it to go get ice cream, find a park, or go for a ride and talk. Time to go in. I removed my helmet as I walked past an old green Ford in the handicap parking. Inside, I unzipped my jacket, letting it hang open, and approached the hostess. She eyed me up and down, hiding a smile. Can I help you? I'm here to meet somebody, I said. Named Bobby. The smile went into hiding. For a moment, she looked a little sad. They're waiting for you in the back. They? She had already moved to help another customer. I checked the main room. All the tables had sconced candles on them. About half had customers. Only one had a tablecloth, beige, with a vase on top, sporting a white rose. 2 men, one my age, one middle-aged, were at the table. The younger man sat facing me. Bet he didn't notice me. Bobby. Bobby wore a white shirt, an apricot silk tie, and a tweed jacket. I had definitely underdressed. Jeans, clean t-shirt, red and white motorcycle jacket. I turned back to the hostess. Is there a dress code here? No, sir. It's pretty casual, except on prom night and Valentine's. The older man did not wear a jacket and tie, but jeans and a golf shirt. Maybe this was part of the game? Time to dive in. The old man dusted off Bobby's shoulders, straightened his tie, and then kissed the top of Bobby's forehead. Bobby said something, and the older man laughed. The older man left, walking to the entrance, right where I stood. He noticed me and paused, his eyes flickering to the white rose and the motorcycle helmet. They narrowed a little, but he beelined straight for me. Hi, I said. Thank you for doing this, he said. I'll be outside, just in case. Do I know you? I asked. The older man didn't smile. No. He left the building. I walked over to Bobby. Crisp-cut hair styled with product, skin free from any razor stubble, a hint of makeup on his right cheek. The package creases on his clothes showed they were freshly bought. He smelled like a hair salon. New clothes, new haircut, shaved at a barber. He had spent some money getting ready for tonight. The tie wasn't one of the cheap ones I usually buy, but had a silk shimmer. A gold tie pin held it together. The tie wasn't an ordinary color either. A designer tie that probably cost as much as the jacket. I bet he had brand new creased slacks and brand new shoes as well. The only thing that wasn't new were the worn black leather gloves that sat on the table beside him. Fingerless, worn very thin on the palms. They looked like they had seen some hard use. Bobby noticed me and froze. He knew exactly what I looked like because I used my camera with every game we played. Bobby looked me up and down, his left hand clenched, unclenched, clenched, unclenched. He blew a small breath out and took a sip of water. His hand trembled. It's good to finally meet you, I said, offering my hand. He took it, but he didn't rise. He did smile. I told my folks this was a bit much. Are you kidding? I said, putting my rose in the vase next to his. You look sexy as hell. I should have dressed up. Thanks, Bobby said. For a moment, his head turned, revealing his right cheek. The makeup almost hid a 2-inch vertical scar in front of his ear. He'd never mentioned that. I took a seat opposite him and set my helmet on the table next to me. I brought my bike, the one I sent you pictures of. Maybe I can give you a ride later. Maybe, Bobby said. I'd love to see it. I love that tie. Where did you find it? A genuine smile, but I couldn't shake the feeling that he was sad. My dad found it in Germany. I bet you love Germany, I said. His smile wilted. I don't think he liked Germany. Time to change the subject. What's good here? I don't think we have one of these restaurants down in Vegas. I used to order the avocado hot and spicy, but I've mellowed since then. I get the classic now, Bobby said. I looked over the menu, stopping on one impossible title. Have you ever tried the nuclear cholesterol bomb? Once, Bobby said, leaning forward a little. Just before I went to basic. 4 of us came here to have one last weekend splurge. That's what we ordered. 4 of you? It's big, Bobby said. We cut it into fourths. I managed to finish mine, but my stomach hurt all night. I fed 4 teenagers. 4 of us started. Only 2 of us finished, Bobby said. It's big. Good times. Yeah, Bobby nodded and looked at his hands. Good times. I need to know something. Did my folks somehow put you up to this? Before I could answer, the waitress showed up. May I take your orders? Our daily special is the Aloha Burger, and it comes with chips or fries and a medium drink. I'll have the classic. Hold the pickle, Bobby said. Very good. And you? The waitress faced me. Aloha Burger with fries and a cola, I said. I'll take his pickle. Bobby turned away to hide the chuckle. What? I said. I'm sure your pickle is very nice. After the waitress left, Bobby picked up one of the gloves and played with it. Why would you think your parents arranged this? I asked. Nothing, Bobby said. Forget I said anything. I shifted positions. My foot hit something under the table. Something that wasn't a foot, and it was in the wrong spot for the table leg. I lifted the tablecloth and checked. I was right. Bobby wore brand new loafers, fresh out of the box. They didn't have a smudge on them. He also wore khaki slacks, also creased perfectly down the legs. My foot had slid into the wheel of Bobby's wheelchair. It wasn't one of the clunky hospital models with their square seat and handles. It was more of a seat on slanted wheels. Takes your breath away, Bobby said softly. I'd never known anyone in a wheelchair before. What do I say? How do I act? How do I treat him? How come you never told me? I said gently. I let the tablecloth fall. Bobby didn't look up from the glove he was playing with. What would I say? Hey guys, guess what I did on my trip? Guess who will never walk again? His face reddened. He slammed his eyes shut. A little wetness trickled down an eye, and he wiped it away. I got up from my seat and took the seat next to him. What happened? I asked. Bobby opened his eyes, but I don't think he saw the restaurant. We were part of a 3-vehicle convoy just leaving a small town in Iraq. I was in the lead vehicle. Next thing I knew, I woke up in the hospital. I found out later that we had hit an IED, and I was crushed under the vehicle. Shattered my L3 and L4. Those are spinal joints in the lower back. Broken glass and shrapnel cut me out pretty good. I'm sorry, I said. I held his hand because it seemed the right thing to do. And Germany? They flew me there for 3 or 4 weeks. Then my dad came and brought me home. That was a year ago, I said, right before we bumped into each other in the game. Now you know why you had to come up here, Bobby said. I can't use a regular car, and that's all we've got. The paperwork is lost for the hand-driven car. I don't know what happened to it. The waitress returned with our orders, which hid the awkwardness of our conversation. Once she had left, I fingered the tablecloth. I wish I'd dressed up. No, your folks didn't put me up to anything. Mom was in the room and heard our conversation, Bobby said. Blame her for me saying yes. They thought it a great chance to get me out of the house and meet people. I nodded. Am I your first date since you've been back? Mom and Dad and my best friend wanted to impress you, Bobby said. It didn't matter what I told them. They did all this anyway. They've got nice taste in shoes, I said. Was that your dad here earlier? He worries about me, Bobby said. I worry about me. We ate in silence, occasionally talking about the game. I didn't know what to say to Bobby. I couldn't relate to what he'd been through. As we finished, I took a fry, dipped it in ketchup, and waved it around. You don't get out much, do you? I have physical therapy 3 times a week, Bobby said. Sometimes my dad brings me here afterwards. That's the extent of my social life. What do you do at therapy? We've started this swimming therapy thing. They hook me up into this harness and let me splash around. It's fun, but it's hard on the arms. I got an idea, I said, feeding Bobby the fry. Are you ready to live a little? I paid. Bobby put on his gloves and we went outside. Bobby's dad leaned against the old Ford. How was it? We're not done yet, I said. Would you watch the chair for a few minutes? What do you mean? Bobby's dad asked, standing up and folding his arms. This, I said. Bobby, wrap your arms around my neck and hold tight. I carried Bobby to my cycle, where I placed him side saddle. He was lighter than I expected. Then I sat behind him. Starting the cycle was a little awkward, but it started. I placed the helmet on him. What are you doing? Bobby said. Hang on, I said. Slowly we rode around the parking lot. Not more than 5 miles an hour, but enough to feel the ride. When I was sure we had the balance, I drove to a park a short distance away, not going faster than 10 miles an hour. Bobby's dad yelled something at us. but neither of us caught it. I parked the bike, turned it off, and pulled the helmet off. It's time you got out of the house and lived a little. Will you trust me again? Bobby nodded. He hung onto my neck, and I picked him up. The park had some swings, not the big ones from my childhood, but big enough. I placed him in one. I took the one next to his. Do you know how many years it's been since I've been in a swing? Bobby said. Hold on then, I said. I left my swing and softly pushed his. As soon as he was swinging, I returned to mine and matched speed with him. As we slowed, Bobby smiled. Thank you. I held up my hand and he took it. For pushing you on a swing? For pushing me on a swing. Bobby looked at me, his eyes wide, his mouth smiling. Can I ask you something? Anything. Even something stupid? Now I'm interested. It's just, Bobby said, almost whispering. I've had so much fun, and since this is a date, would you mind if I mean, it's been a long time, but if you don't want to, I understand. I'm damaged. I'm not like the other guys. His hand let go of mine and touched the scar. Dating Bobby would not be a casual thing, not like other dates. So much pain, so much need. He needed a long-term commitment, and if I couldn't provide that, then I had to move on. But I liked him. We had gamed and talked a lot over the last year. So what if he hadn't told me about his injuries? We were still friends. In a way, it meant dating his family, maybe becoming a part of that family. Could I do that? It meant that I would have to shoulder some of the responsibility of taking care of him. No, this wouldn't be like other men I've dated. This wouldn't be a shallow relationship. I guess it's time for me to grow up a little. I bet your mouth works just fine, I said, pushing my swing closer to his. We leaned in. His was a timid, virginal kiss. That was fine with me. Bobby had to move at his own pace. But it didn't take long for him to build his confidence. I picked him up and took him to a nearby bench. We continued our conversation. His mouth worked just fine. You don't need the makeup, I said, running a finger along the scar. I think you're beautiful. Bobby took a deep breath and stared at me. Wetness formed under his eye, and I wiped it away. Kiss me one more time, I said. Then I'll take you back to your chair and your dad. We don't want him to think you were hit by a meteor. I didn't bring an umbrella. This time, our kiss wasn't timid or virginal. It didn't take Bobby long to remember how. I told you he'd be all right, a woman's voice said. You worry too much. Bobby broke the kiss. Mom? Dad? Ma'am? Sir? I said. We were talking about lemon meringue pie, Bobby's mom said. Bobby, why don't you invite your date back to our place? We'll have dessert, and you can show off that fancy computer system to somebody who can appreciate it. Actually, that will give us a chance to talk about something else, I said. Bobby, what are you doing next Saturday? Saturday morning, I have the swim therapy session I was telling you about. I love swimming. I'll bring my suit, I said. Then how about lunch and a movie? The way Bobby looked at me as we rode to his house and made the entire trip worth it. So did the lemon meringue pie.